Good morning, everybody. I am Bearded Ink, and today I'm going to do a remake of a previous tutorial covering the initial download, install, setup, and configuration of Streamer.Bot. The last tutorial used the 1.x version, and Nate recently released the 2.0 version, and there are some big changes that you should be aware about. So I decided to make a new tutorial that covers pretty much everything you need to know to get started with this amazing bot. But if you are currently using the 1.0 version, you will know that it no longer works with Twitch. Twitch has made a lot of changes to their event subs and protocols with their APIs, and older versions will not work. So if you're looking to upgrade to the 2.0, or if you're trying StreamerBot out for the first time, 2.0 or current version is 2.1 is what you're going to download and use. So we're going to go ahead and start that from scratch and show you everything that you need to know. So this is going to be a long tutorial because I do want to cover as much as possible to get you comfortable with the interface and how things now work. So go ahead and pause the video now if you need to. Grab some coffee, grab your notepad, and get ready to follow along. I'll be there when you get back. And for those of you that are ready, let's just keep it rolling and let's get right on into it. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do, obviously, is to download the bot if you haven't already. And one of the first things I want to let everybody know is that this bot is a downloaded bot. It is not a web-based bot, so it will be running on your computer. You will need to have it running when you are live and streaming, but it uses very little resources, and it is also standalone, so there is no installation required of the bot. Everything you need comes in the zip folder. We're going to unzip the folder. I'll show you exactly what I mean, but you just want to put it somewhere on your hard drive where you can easily access it, and leave it. So let's go ahead and get there. First thing you're going to do is know Streamer.Bot is the name of the bot. It is also the web address to keep everything easy. So you're going to browse to Streamer.Bot, and you're going to come to this page here. There are two downloads you can do, the Streamer.Bot and the SpeakerBot. SpeakerBot is a completely different bot that uses TTS, and I will do a tutorial on that later. So we're going to focus on the StreamerBot button. And as you can see, it'll tell you the current version, which in this case is version 2.1. So we're going to go ahead and download this. I'm just going to download it to my desktop, but you can download it to your downloads folder, your documents folder, wherever it makes sense for you to do so. Once you have that downloaded, and it doesn't take very long, you're going to have this zip folder. And all you're going to do is we're going to extract the folder, and you should extract this. I'm going to extract it to my desktop. But you should extract this folder somewhere permanent, right? I don't know. I personally use a specific portion of my hard drive for my streaming stuff, and it has its own layout, and that's where everything that I use for streaming goes. If you have something similar like that, this is where you want to put that folder. I don't recommend leaving it on your desktop for that reason, but again, it's completely up to you, whatever makes it easiest for you. So once you have that folder here extracted, you can do anything you want to it with it. One of the big things I like to do is just rename it. I name it Streamer.Bot. I take out the dots and all that kind of thing, and just Streamer.Bot. That doesn't matter. None of it's going to matter. It's just personal preference for you, again, as with pretty much everything. So once you have that downloaded and extracted and renamed into the folder where you prefer it to be, we're going to enter that folder, and you're going to see a lot of things here that you don't really need to worry about. But what we want to do is we want to scroll through the list until we find the StreamerBot exe right here. And if you like, you can go ahead and pin this to your start or to your taskbar, or add it to your favorites or whatever. That way you don't have to open this folder every time you want to access it. For my personal preference, I've added it to my start button, so I can just access it right there. But all you're going to do is double click to run, and it will load and run its initial first run. And that's when all of the folders are going to get made. Up here, you'll see them in a moment. All right. One of the things that Nate has done with the new one is he's added a splash screen that you just saw, and then information. So anything that comes up, especially with new updates or things like that, it will come up, and you should read these, let you know what's going on with the bot and any current changes or removals of items and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and close that. And when you first get the bot open, it's going to look something like this. Now, I will tell you right now that the interface is very ugly, and it is actually quite daunting. But if you bear with it and give it a chance, you will find that this is one of the most powerful streaming bots that you can use for your entire system. And I don't care if you stream on Twitch, on Kick, on YouTube, if you want heart rate monitors and stream elements and Streamlabs and all that, everything is integrated. And we're going to cover all of that. So again, like I said, this is going to be a long tutorial, and I apologize. I will do my best to be expedient. If I cover something too quickly that you want me to go over again or to clarify, just drop a comment down below and we will get that handled for you. Okay, so the first thing we want to do when we open the bot is we want to connect this to our accounts. So we're going to find up top all of these little tabs here, and we're going to find platforms. And by default, it has Twitch and YouTube integration. YouTube has a little bit of extra steps. We're not going to go over that today, but the process is the same. You're going to click I agree to, because you got to agree to the YouTube terms of service and privacies and all that. And then you're going to connect your accounts the same way we're going to do it with Twitch. So on a Twitch, you'll notice there's extra tabs. Again, I told you it's ugly, but find the accounts tab. And we're going to click on that, and you will see that there is a broadcaster account as well as a bot account. So what we're going to do is we're going to click login, and this is going to open up our browser to our main account. This is your account. You'll make sure that it's you, and you're going to click authorize. And then it tells you can close this tab. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the bot, and you can see now that we are logged in. It is connecting to the chat client, to the pub sub, and to the event sub. And if you're ever curious about what is connected or what is not connected, there is a little thing in the bottom right-hand corner that'll tell you what possible connections there are. Currently, the only one we've connected so far is Twitch, the broadcaster account, and it is connected. The next thing I want to do is connect a bot account. Now, I have a bot account. If you do not have a bot account, you can skip this step. If you want to know how to create your own bot account, it is free, it is simple, it is easy, but I can make a tutorial for you if you would like to know. Again, leave a comment down below letting me know, hey, I want to know how to make a bot account, and I will get that sorted for you. Again, I'm going to click login. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to copy this because I don't want to log out of my main account to log back in. So I have my bot account logged in on a different browser. So we're just going to paste and go there. We're going to verify that this is my bot account. And again, click authorize. It doesn't matter where you do it. You just got to do it. So once we're done with all of that, we can minimize the browsers for a little bit. And you will see now that we are both connected on my main broadcaster account with my Bearded Ink account. And then on Robot Bearded, my bot account, he is there and connected. Now, the bot account doesn't do any of the events, any of the publicity. He just does the chat client, and I will cover that when we get into making actions and things like that and why you would want to use this. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is connect this to our OBS. Now, I will let you know right now, if you do not use OBS or Streamlabs or Stream Elements Live or anything like that, and you just want a chat bot that can do a little bit of extra things like control channel points or, do shout outs and things like that, this bot will do it. You do not have to connect it to OBS. However, if you want that full control, where you can control your scenes and your visibilities and mute states of your microphone or your audio sources and things like that. This bot can handle all of that. So I highly recommend that you connect both if you have them, and then also connect it to OBS. And we're going to do that right now. Up top, we're going to find all of these tabs up here again, and we're going to go to the Stream Apps tab, and you're going to see that this big blank window here. Now, I'm assuming here, because we are using version 2.1 of the bot, you should be updated on OBS as well, and at least using version 28. Hopefully you're using 29.1.2 and not 0.3, which is broken and crap. And it also works with StreamerBot version 30, which is soon to be released. I have been using 30 now for about 3 weeks with no issues at all with the bot itself. So it works with version 30 also, which means if you have 28, 29, or 30, you will be using WebSockets 5 for your connectivity, and that is connected on port 4455. And this is important later. So what I'm going to do is we're going to right click anywhere in here, and the little add menu is going to come up. So we're going to click on add, and we're going to give it a name, and I'm just going to name it OBS because that's what we're connecting. And as you can see, it still has version 4.9. This is the WebSockets version, the connection. 4.9 is still allowed because there is that plugin that allows version 5.0 to also work with 4.9.1 of the WebSockets. If you don't know what I'm talking about, ignore it. If you are on version 27 of OBS or older, you will have to use version 4.9 of the WebSockets, and this is where you're going to select. But because we're talking upgrades and full feature, we want the latest and the greatest. We're going to assume that that's what you're doing. So we want to change this to the v5.x or version 5.x of the WebSockets. And then I'm going to show you real quick how we get this information. So what I've done here is I've opened up one of my other versions of OBS that I've been running tutorials and stuff on. And it's all the same in 28, 29, and 30. We're going to go to Tools, and you're going to look for WebSocket Server Settings right here. And the first thing you want to do is make sure that Enable WebSocket Server is checked, because we want to have this enabled. And as you can see, the server port here is 4455. This is what I told you about earlier. You want to enable the authentication. WebSockets 5 does not work without the server password. And you can either generate a password or you can make your own. Just make it really strong. And if you've already set this up in the past and you forgot what your password was or whatever, you can show connect info, and it'll show you everything you have here. Don't worry, I will be changing my server password right after this, so we're gonna forget about that. You can see it. But you have the server IP, the server port, and the server password all in this little pop-up right here. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, so once you have that, we're going to come back into the bot, and we're going to change everything that it says like it shows on StreamerBot. So the host is going to be localhost 1.27.0.0.1. Should work. If it doesn't, you're going to change this to the server IP from that little pop-up box. The port 4455 is what we have. And then, of course, our password, which we're going to put in, and you're not going to be able to see it. So, and check the auto connect on startup and the reconnect on disconnect. And what this is going to do is every time the bot starts, it's going to try to make that connection to OBS. If it ever loses that connection, OBS crashes or bot crashes, whatever, it'll automatically retry that connection. Every 30 seconds, you can change this interval to whatever you like. But once you have all of this information in there, we're going to click OK, and you're going to see that version, your OBS is here, auto connect, reconnect, how the retry, and that it is disconnected. So what we want to do is come in here, and we want to connect. And once it's connected, you will see that it'll show you where my face is. So as you can see, once we are connected, it'll show you the current scene that we're in. any groups that you have. It'll show you the stream status where currently we are recording, but we are not streaming. And then any sources that are in the current scene. That just lets you know that it is connected and what it can see. Now we have StreamerBot downloaded and running. We have it connected to our broadcaster and our bot accounts, and it's connected to our OBS. Once you're done with that, I highly recommend that you go through each of these tabs and check them out. The About tells us all about StreamerBot. So the settings here, this is your basic settings for the bot. There are a lot of things to cover. Now, I'm not going to cover every tab because this would end up being like a 3-hour tutorial. So again, go through the tabs, take a look at what they do, and get familiar with them. Okay. Familiarity with the program is the greatest knowledge you can have. So take your time and realize, if you don't know what it is, look it up. You can leave a comment in the section below. I will answer it for you, or you can join on the Discord and ask there. There is no such thing as a stupid question because it all gives you knowledge. We're going to skip on all the way down back to platforms. We're going to go to Twitch and we're going to start here. As you can see, I have channel point redeems that are attributed to my account, my broadcaster account. These are all of my channel points that you can use on my stream. And it brings them in. It pulls everything in automatically. If you want to start a poll, you have the poll tab. You can start a poll and it'll stay here. You can create it and then you can run it whenever you like. So if you're constantly doing the same poll over and over, like, oh, which map on Phasmo should I choose? Right? You can have it sit there and you don't have to recreate the poll every time. It'll just add it and then you can run it. The same thing with predictions, with emote pyramids. You can have it enabled or not. And different things like that. Again, the accounts are here. And then the settings. This is a big one because this right here, the first words reset got moved to the Twitch settings tab. It used to be on the main Twitch one with everything else, but now it is moved. And this is where it is. This is also where your live update is. There's a lot of actions that will use the live update. Now we have our StreamerBot. We've gone through the tabs. We're looking at all the things that it can do and everything. One thing I want to point out is that you can right click on the top layer of tabs. And if you do that, you will see that there is a checklist of every tab that is there. So if there are tabs that you're never going to use, for example, if you're like, oh, you know what? I don't need hotkeys or I don't need the MIDI resource or whatever. You can uncheck that and then it just disappears. Help kind of clean it up a little bit. There are also the ones for Twitch and YouTube. So if you never use Twitch or you never use YouTube, you can uncheck those and then it's just gone. And then depending on where you're at in the submenus, some of them will also have that there as well. So you can, for example, here within the settings, if you're never going to use the C# compiler, turn it off. If you're never going to use the quote system, turn it off. And it just kind of helps clean your interface up a little bit, which can help, especially for those of you that are daunted by just so many options all at once. Right here under integrations, we have Streamlabs, Stream Elements, VoiceMod, Dono Drive, Pulsoid, HypeRate, Tippy, TreatStream, LumiaStream, the StreamerBot website, BTube Studio, Crowd Control, and Elgato. And as you can see, they all have their ones again. So if you use some of these, like your Stream Elements for your alerts and things like that, or your overlays, you can actually connect to the Stream Elements or the Streamlabs or any of these and use those connections to trigger more events in the bot itself. One of the things we want to do is the StreamerBot website. We want to go ahead and log in. Now, when you log into the StreamerBot website, you are using a Discord login. So if you don't have a Discord, you're not going to be able to use this portion, but I highly recommend that you do. So for those of you that are on Discord, go ahead and click the login. Again, it'll come open up the folder. It'll let you know that this is what we're going to access. Click on authorize. And then once you're done, it'll say, hey, you can close this web page, which we will do. Thanks. And now we are logged in on the StreamerBot website. So again, go through all of these tabs for all of the things that you do. This is really great, especially for like your donations through Stream Elements or Streamlabs. And then I use Ko-Fi or Coffee if you prefer, which is why you want to do the StreamerBot website, because all of the logins and stuff for the coffee.com go through the StreamerBot website through the Discord connection. So that's why you want that there. All right. Are we moving on? We're moving on. Let's learn how to actually use the bot for something productive. Let's go to our Actions tab. Up at the top, we're at the Actions tab. And as you can see, it is split into 4 different little areas. The main area here is the actions. The top area here are your triggers, the sub actions, and then the information panel. These can mostly be resized also to your liking, however you prefer. I like sub actions. One thing you cannot do though is minimize the information tab, which I wish you could, and I put that out to Nate to change in a future release. I think this should be able to be like minimized all the way with like a little arrow to bring it back up when needed, just to give you more space in the sub actions. But we have what we have, and right now I have a dry mouth, so I'm going to drink some coffee. It's also a good time to head over to Twitch and follow me if you don't already, because I want more viewers. All right. So this is where 90% of you are going to live when you're inside the bot and actually using it for things. Let me explain this kind of like in a dumbed down version. I'm not calling you dumb, but there are a lot of things going on, and this is kind of helps you make sense of it. A trigger is what the bot is waiting for, something to happen to tell it to do another thing. Okay, so a message in chat, like an exclamation point shout out, right? That is a trigger. And the bot recognizes that in chat and goes, oh, when that happens, I need to run an action. The action is just a list of all the various actions that you have in the bot. And each action is full of a list of instructions, what to do when that action is triggered. So when somebody types in exclamation point shout out, it's going to look and go, oh, that's a trigger to run the shout out action. The shout out action then goes, oh, I'm being triggered to run. Here's my list of instructions. Go through and do all of them. Now, another thing I want to point out, though, is that actions and stuff, triggers in StreamerBot are fire and forget. Okay, so once they are triggered, you can't like stop them. They will run their course. And then once they're done, you can continue on. But you can't go, oh, crap, I didn't want this raid message to play today and it got triggered. You can't stop it halfway through. Once it's been triggered and fired off and starts running, it continues to run. So let's start with making our first action, our first trigger, and our first set of sub actions. So the first thing we want to do, might as well just do a standard like a shout out. That's a very popular one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and as you can see, right click to add actions. So we're going to right click, we're going to add, and then we're going to get this pop up here. That's going to let us name our action, put it into a group, and put it into a queue. And we have a couple of extra things here. So I'm going to talk about all of these so you know what's going on. First, the name. This name is something only you will ever see. So make it something that you will recognize, hey, that's what this is. So we're making a shout out, right? So we're going to name this one shout out. Now, spelling, spaces and stuff like that don't matter. Again, this is only visible to you ever, or in this case to you, mine, because I'm showing you on my video. But the drop down route for group is going to be empty the first time you do this, and you can always add a brand new one just by typing in. So we're going to name this one, we're going to call this shouts, the shout group, because we may add things later, like we want to show clips or we want to do special things and change scenes and celebrate the shout out real big, whatever. And we might have different actions that will be a part of this group. So we're going to go ahead and make a group. And the queue, you can have two types of queues. You can have a standard queue and you can have a blocking queue. Now, just to clarify, a blocking queue will block all other actions that are triggered until that action has run through all of the sub actions, right? So if we have our shout out in a blocking queue, and we have a whole bunch of different other actions, channel point redeems and commands, that give people slaps in the faces or whatever your commands do. If a shout out is triggered and it's in a blocking queue, the queue will build below that and nothing else will run until the shout out is complete. And then it'll, if it is in a standard type of queue, they will run parallel with each other. So this will run the next one and they'll run at the same time. So you want to keep in mind of what action you are creating and should it be in a blocking queue or a standard queue. And you get to control that. You get to create, you can have 2 queues. You can have 300 queues. It doesn't matter. But by default, it's all going to be sorted into the default, which is a non-blocking queue. So you can make it blocking. And I'll show you that in a moment. These check marks down here, 9 times out of 10, you're going to leave these alone. But one of the important ones is the always run. This means that because you can pause by queue. So anything in that queue, like we just talked about, you can create up to 300 of them. You can pause a queue and none of those actions will run. They'll be queued up and they'll be ready, but they won't actually fire. But this always run will be like, hey, even though I've blocked my shouts group or my shout queue, this particular action, I want it to run anyway, and that will bypass the pause effect. And then you can exclude the action queue from the pending or the history, and I'll cover that in just a second. But usually the always run is the only one I have ever used. You got the random action or the concurrent action. These will vary depending on your usages. But for most purpose, you won't need to check any of these boxes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And as you can see, now we have an action called shout out. What happens when we do a shout out? Nothing. Nothing happens because we don't have a trigger to look for it, to call it, and we don't have sub actions or instructions to run. So we're going to add some. Now, one thing we're going to do, we know for a fact, is during our shout out, we're going to send a message to our chat. And it's going to say, hey, you should check out so-and-so. They can be found at this web address. They were last seen playing this game. Pretty standard shout out, right? Well, we need to do that. And the way we do that is we're going to use what StreamerBot calls variables. And we have to populate those variables. So we want to get their username, which will be used in the URL or the web address of their Twitch clickable link. And then we also want to get the name of the last game that they were playing. So what we got here is in the sub actions, we are going to click on our, make sure your action is highlighted so it knows which one we're adding things to. You're going to click, and as you can see, there are a ton of sub actions. They're all grouped by category, and there's the core ones. These are the ones that are built into OBS. Into Streamer.Bot. There are the OBS ones. So when you're controlling OBS, your scenes, your sources, mute states, that kind of thing, you'll find them there. Again, there's Polypop as well. You have basic settings like a color picker, your credits, reset credits, set of voice control. You have the SpeakerBot, which was the other bot on the download page at the very, very beginning. If you remember, you can make that trigger. Streamlabs desktop, YouTube, the Elgato. Here's all of our integrations, including Discord. If this, then that, Lumia Stream, Voice Mod, and VTube Studio. And then, of course, Twitch. And then, as you can see, each one of these has a few that are subcategories with subcategories within them. but we want to get user information, right? So whoever we are saying is in the shout out. So first thing we're going to look for is the user here. And again, this could be set up better. It is very ugly, but it is what it is. So we're going to right click in the sub actions. We're going to go to Twitch. We're going to go to user. We're going to get user info for our target. Now, as you can see, we can add broadcaster information. And remember, the broadcaster is you. And this will populate variables such as your game, how long you've been live, what your username is, that kind of thing. We don't care about that for a shout out because it's not needed. You can add a list of the present users. You can make a list for random users. You can get team info if you happen to be a part of a team. But what we mainly focus on here is the get user info. So you're going to get this little pop-up here. And the source type is what we're looking for. So the source type is who we're getting the information from what was entered in chat. So in this instance, we're doing a shout out. So we're getting the information for the name of the person that was shouted out. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to get the from input, and then we're going to click OK. But before I click OK, you can see you have the broadcaster, you have the user, which will be the person that says the shout out. So if I typed in my own chat, exclamation point shout out and then a name, the user information would be who sent that message, which would be me. We don't want that. We want the from the input. We're going to get the information from the name that is in the input. And then, of course, you can also use variables. So if you have a variable in the input that was put in the chat message or in the trigger or whatever, you can use those as well. I know, seems confusing. You'll get the hang of it quickly, I promise. From input, click OK, and it's going to add a sub action that adds target info from input. Now, still nothing gets put out into chat or on your stream or whatever. This just fills your variable list. So now that we have that information, we can use variables in our message. So we only have to create one. So again, we want now to create our message. We're going to go back, right click on Twitch. We're going to come in and we're going to chat, and we're going to send a message to the channel. Okay. Now I want to point out one little thing right here. You'll see up at the top, favorite sub actions. And it says right here, right click a sub action to mark it as a favorite. So if you're going to be sending a lot of messages to chat for various things, which you will when people use commands, there's going to be a chat response. So come down to Twitch. We're going to go to chat, and we're going to right click, not left click, right click on send message to channel. The menu is going to disappear. Nothing happened. But now if we go to our favorites, we'll see Twitch chat, send message to channel is right there. We don't have to go through the whole list every time. But what we want to do is we want to send our chat message to the chat. And remember in the very beginning when we set up our broadcaster account and we connected our bot account, this is where this is going to come into play. The preferred account is which account, the bot or the broadcaster, is the one that sends the message to chat. Now, I prefer my bot to handle all of my chat responses. So I have bot set up for about 99% of them. But if you don't have a bot account, this will default to the broadcaster. That's you, and that's the one you're going to use. Okay. And then the message here, this is what's actually going to show up in the Twitch chat. So we want to say we're shouting out somebody. So we want to say, hey, you should check out and then we're going to use the person's name. And remember, we got the information from before that filled out the variable list. So we can use %, user, %, and who can be found at. And then we're going to go ahead and type in https://twitch.tv/ and then again, user. They were last seen playing % game. So we have a message now that says, hey, you should check out user who can be found at twitch.tv/user. They were last seen playing game, which obviously is not the message we want to send. We want to populate those. And that's what that first message does. So now our variables will be populated. And if we send a message now, it will populate those with the person in the message, not the person who sent the message. But we still have to trigger it. We have to create a trigger. And this is what is new in 2.0. So we're going to cover this a little bit more in depth so you kind of get an idea of what the triggers are. All right, if you're familiar with StreamerBot 1.x, you will know that the triggers thing was never there. If we wanted to make a command, we had to go to the commands tab. We had to right click. We had to add. We had to put in all of the information here, which you can still do. If you wanted a channel point redeem, you had to go to the platforms and the channel point rewards and right click and add new and fill out all the information, which you can still do. All of these things that trigger our actions, the file watchers, the integration, all of that. Back on the actions tab. All of that is done in the trigger panel now, so you don't have to leave this tab to create your full functioning action. So what we want to do, just like everywhere else, we're going to right click. Again, you can favorite triggers just like you can favorite sub actions. But with this one, we want to trigger a exclamation point command. You can favorite triggers like you could favorite your sub actions. And then again, here's your list of different things that you can do with YouTube, with Twitch, with the integrations again. Like here's all of your, you can do a stream elements that's been connected, disconnected, get a merch sale or a tip. It'll be the trigger, coffee again, stream VTube Studio. If something happens with your hotkeys or whatever, you can use those as triggers. The Elgato OBS, if you start a recording, start streaming, if you get disconnected, if there's a scene change, things like that. You can also have custom ones where you can make your own triggers based on different variables that are already built into StreamerBot. The crowd control and the core. Now, core is things that are built into StreamerBot, just like they are in the sub actions. And this is where you're going to spend most of your time. So for this instance, we want to trigger our shout out based on a command, and the commands are in StreamerBot because that's where we create our commands. So we're going to come over here. We're going to look for commands, and then command triggered is what we want. So now we get this little pop up here. What is the type? The command type is any type of command. We don't have one. That's why there's nothing in the dropdown yet. So we want to create a command. Now I could have gone to the commands tab. I could have done all of that stuff there and then come back here and done this and then picked it from the drop tab. Or I can just click create command. We get the command pop up here and we don't ever have to leave this tab. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to cover all of this again in a little bit of detail so that you know what's going on. First thing is the name. You have to give it a name. And this, again, just like the actions, can be anything you want. It can even be shout out, just like we named our action. But I'm just going to name it SO. And we want to make sure that it is enabled and included. The mode type for most of you is going to be basic almost every time. The other option is regex, and if there are special needs when you need that regex, especially if you're running like code and things like that. But the commands here, this is where you're going to spend time. This is what you want to be the actual trigger. So in our instance, it's going to be exclamation point SO for shout out. Now, if you wanted it to also work with exclamation point shout out, we would just put that on a new line, exclamation point shout out. Now, where should this look for this command? You have options. You can have it at the start. You can have it be exact, or it can show up anywhere in the message. Now, for a shout out and for most of your commands, they're going to be at the start. which means the very first part of the message is going to be exclamation point, whatever, and then that's going to trigger the action, no matter what comes after it. And for our instances, for the shout out, that's what we want. But real quick, let me cover the other two. Exact means the entire message that is sent to chat has to match exactly what you put in the command here. So if we choose exact and we say exclamation point SO space and then somebody's name, that is not an exact match because we're looking for exactly exclamation point SO or exclamation point shout out. So that would mean anything, even a space afterwards, would not be an exact match. This will not get triggered. But the exact is useful when you want to trigger an action based on a keyword or somebody's username, no matter what it is. So you could have like a fart command, and if somebody just types the word fart and that's their only message, you can have it play a sound and trigger an action or whatever. So there are needs for that and uses for it. So make sure that you understand that. The other one is anywhere. And anywhere, as it sounds, means that anywhere in that message that is sent to chat, if exclamation point SO shows up, it will trigger. Okay. So I could say, hey, like I could type a message that says, hey, can you exclamation point SO the newest member? If I have this set to anywhere because I type that and the exclamation point SO is in there, anywhere, it will trigger. And as you can see, that can get kind of messy. So be careful when you use the anywhere. So we're going to leave ours to start because that's what we want. And it doesn't have to be exact because we are going to have the information afterward. Again, just like with your channel points and your actions and everything else, you can have them in a group. So like you can say this will be interactions. It doesn't have to be in a group. There is a default group that everything goes to. But for most intents and purposes, you like to, group them together and keep them nice and tidy on the commands page. Here we go. So we're going to ignore bot account, ignore internal messages, the persist user, per user counter, persist counter, case sensitive, all of these options. And it defaults to the ignore bot and ignore internal messages. And for the most part, you want to leave these this way. This means that if your bot account happens to have a response on another action that you use that says exclamation point shout out, it will ignore that shout out. So it'll actually have to be your broadcaster account or a moderator or, a user or whatever in your chat that types the message. So it won't trigger on an auto response or things from your bot account, which is very nice. The sources you can see in here, we have a Twitch message, YouTube message, a Twitch whisper, a Twitch bot whisper, a Twitch subscription message, or a Twitch resubscription message. So these are your sources and where those commands are going to be triggered to. And in this case, we're sending our message to Twitch. If you also are co-streaming like to YouTube, you can click this one, or either or both. But it has to have some source, right? And by default, we're going to send our message to Twitch. The global cooldown and user cooldown, pretty self-explanatory, but the global cooldown is how many seconds until that message can be used again. And the user cooldown is how many seconds until that user who sent the message can use that message again and have it trigger. So for example, if I set this to 60 and then I go into my message right now and I type exclamation point SO and then a name, I personally will not be able to trigger another shout out for 60 seconds. But one of my moderators can come in 5 seconds later and do it again because there is no global cooldown. But for a shout out, we don't really need a cooldown. Now, The other thing to look at is the permissions. And this is very, very useful, especially for a shout out command. Most people, not everybody, but most people do not want anybody to be able to shout out, right? Because then you get people that come in and shout out themselves or their friends, or, hey, my best friend just went live and you should go check them, self-promotion and things like that. You only want specific people to be able to use this command. Now, if you leave everything as it defaults, just like this, where it says allowed in the grant type and the group permissions are all available, but nothing in the allowed section, everybody and anybody, follower, subscriber, VIP, moderator, editor, broadcaster, everybody can use that command. If you come down here and you click on deny, nobody can use that command. It automatically blocks everybody except you, the broadcaster. You are exempt from all of this. Okay. Now, leave it on allow, and we click on moderator and move them over to allow. Now, what this one little click does by clicking that button and moving moderators over is it now says, oh, we're going to grant permission only to those in the allowed list. If the allowed list, this list here, is empty, it means everybody can use it. If anything is in the allowed list, this will then trigger the grant type and say, oh, only moderators can use this. No subscribers, no VIPs, no followers, no non-followers, just moderators and the broadcaster, the only ones that can use the shout out. All right. So 90% of you aren't going to have a need for that at all. When it comes to your basic commands, like if you want to give a hug, you have a hug command or a head pat command or a slap command. You want everybody to be able to use that, right? So you're not going to do anything with this half of the pop-up. But you do have specific ones like your death counter, your shout outs, things like that. You only want your moderators to be able to use those commands. Click on the little arrow, move moderators over, and now we're done. And as you can see, now it shows up in the dropdown. We've created it. And we're going to click OK. It's going to be here on the trigger. But look, if we go to our commands now, look, there it is. It all got created, just like we did if we came here and did it manually on the commands tab. We just didn't have to leave the actions tab. So now we have a full-on shout out. And what we got here is we have the trigger, which is a command, the shout out trigger, which will trigger the shout out action, which will run these instructions. So if we look at it, and I'll bring this over so you can see, here is my Twitch chat. I am not live. And for most things, you don't need to be live. So it's a good way to test. I can come here and I can go shout out, and we'll shout out my girlfriend. It's Alex Gaming. Now, we've got the exclamation point SO, which is our trigger. And then we got the add target info, which is the instruction in the sub action that is going to use this name to pull the information from. And I'll show you that in just a second. We're going to shout that out. And then we got our message. So now we had an error, right? What was the error? Well, we had user. So let me show you. So if we're going to shout out my girlfriend, for example, we can do shout out, it's Alex Gaming, and it should show, hey, you should check out, oh no, it says Bearded Ink, who can be found at Bearded Ink. They were last seen playing Outpath. Now, it's correct, but wrong, right? We didn't want to shout out me. We wanted to shout out Alex. So what happened? We got to go and investigate. And you're thinking, oh, Bearded, you dumbass. You don't even know how to do a proper shout out. Or I did it on purpose to give us a reason to go and look at the action cues. Now, right next to the action are the action cues, unless you've dragged them around. Did you know you could drag your tabs around? So if I want the action cues way down here, I can just click and drag to move them around so that the ones that you use the most often are right there at the front. Anyway, when you click on the action cues, you're going to have pending actions. This is a list of all the actions that are queued up, ready to be fired off and run. The cues that you have, remember we only had the default one. If you want to add a new cue, you can do that here. Is it blocking or not? And then we have our action history. And you can see we've run the shout out a few times, but let's take a look at what we're looking at. So if you right click on here, you can re-queue it. You can clear the history. We can inspect the variables when it was queued. And as you can see, there were 35 variables when that action was triggered. And then it ran and it produced 71 more variables after it was run. So we're going to check out the variables after it was run. Okay. And this is going to give you another little pop-up. So here's the command shout out. Here's the command ID, the source, the type, all of this information. And as you can see, there is a lot of information, right? So here's what we got. We got the raw input, which is what came after the command, which was it's Alex Gaming. We have a counter of how many times that command has been used. Currently it's 3. As you can see, 1, 2, 3. We've done it 3 times. We have the trigger ID, the trigger name, all of this stuff. But here's the interesting thing. User. The user is Bearded Ink because I'm the one that used that command, right? And that's what we have. If we go back and take a look, I'm just going to move this over here a little bit. If we go back and look in our Twitch message, we have user. Well, I don't want the user though. I want the person that we call in the input. So we're going to go back to our variable list and we're going to keep coming down here a little bit. Here's all the information. Is the user type was on Twitch? Was it on Facebook or YouTube? Are they subscribed? Are they a moderator? Are they a VIP? When were they last active? On and on and on. Who was the broadcaster? In this case, it's going to be always you. And then we're going to look. Oh, target user is it's Alex Gaming. Target username. Target user ID, their platform, their description, their profile picture, their user type. Are they an affiliate? Are they partner? Are they following you? When were they last active? Are they a moderator? Are they a VIP? What game were they playing? What is the game ID? What is their target title? How many tags do they have? What were those tags? Okay. So we have all of these that we can now use in our messages and things like that. All of these are variables. Is subscribed. Put that in between parentheses. And if it's true, you can trigger an action. If it's false, you can trigger a second action. This bot can do a lot. But what we're looking for now is target user. So come back here. We're going to come back in here and we're going to change this target user. Capital U, lowercase target, capital user. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to come back here to our chat and we're going to try again. Shout out, it's Alex Gaming. Oops, I did SO. No, that wasn't a trigger. And as you can see, nothing happened. Now it's an SO. There we go. So now, hey, you should check out It's Alex Gaming. She can be found at It's Alex Gaming. They were last seen playing Outpath. And then it has a little, this Twitch is cool and gives you, there's a little icon. Also, go follow Alex because she's amazing. So as you can see now, we've been able to use the variables, right? And we got the target user, we got the game, we use target user to make their clickable link to their page, and we have a functioning shout out with a command, trigger, an action, and sub action. And then you just go on from there. What else is it that you want to make? You want to make a message when somebody raids you? You want to make a message when somebody does something special in your chat? Do you want to make a hug command? All of these different things are all possible. Do you want to automatically change your scene? these all run. So let's just make something else real quick. We're going to give this a name of test because I don't know what to make. I didn't give it a group. As you can see, it just defaults to the none group. We're going to go into actions. Let's do OBS. Okay. Now I have a scene that you saw at the very beginning called the YouTube Speak scene. And that's my default introduction screen. And when I want to end a video, I go back to that scene. So what I want to do here is we're going to go into OBS and we're going to find scenes. We need to get our current scene. So just like we did with the get user info, we want to find out what scene in OBS we are on. And this will populate, again, more variables. So just like with the variables, so this will populate variables just like it did with our user getting with the shout out the target info. This get current scene will populate a list of variables within OBS. So next we want to change our scene. So we're going to come here, we're going to go to OBS and we're going to set active scene. And then it gives you a list of all the scenes that it can find in your connected version of OBS. So here's my YouTube Speak. And then we're going to click OK. So now I need a trigger. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go and we're going to make another command real quick. Command is triggered. We're going to create a command and we're going to call this one end. We're going to give it a name of bye-bye. If I can type. No group. Nobody can use it. I don't want anybody to be able to use this, right? Except for me. So we're going to go deny. We're going to click OK. We're going to go OK. And there we go. So now if I do exclamation point end, then my scene should change back to the first one. So let's see if that works. Just like that, because we're connected to the OBS. But this has gone on quite long enough. So now we have downloaded StreamerBot. We have unpacked the zip file. We have started StreamerBot. We've connected it to our broadcaster and our bot accounts. We have connected it to our OBS. We have looked through all of the tabs. We've gotten rid of the ones that are no use to us. We've gotten familiar with all the other tabs. You did that on your own. That's your homework. Go through all of the tabs, look at all of the subcategories, look at all the submenus, figure out all of the different things that this bot can use. We made a shout out command and we also had it control our OBS by being able to switch our scene. There's so much that this bot can do, and I just can't cover it in a single tutorial. This bot can create and run and control channel points. You can turn channel points on and off by touching a button or sending a command to chat. It has voice control. You can use your voice to be a trigger to run things. So I could do shout out, it's Alex Gaming, and it would run the shout out. You could do almost anything. Control your OBS, control your computer. You can set it to do hotkeys and key presses. You can have it open programs, write to files, read from a file. The possibilities are near endless with what you can do. And if the feature is not currently available in StreamerBot, you can write it using C#, add it into a C# command, and now the bot can do it. It's simple. Right? The only thing it doesn't do is click start streaming and stop streaming for me, which I could have it do that. I just don't, because I want to have something to do while I'm streaming. But otherwise, the bot automates pretty much everything in my stream. And it can for you too. But get comfortable with it. Make the basic things. Like, do the things that you use Stream Elements and Nightbot and all of that for. Get comfortable using actions and sub-actions and making your triggers, testing them out. Do a little bit one by one, and slowly whatever bot you're currently using, because it's crap and outdated now compared to StreamerBot, and start moving things over one by one. Make them yourself in StreamerBot, test them, delete them from your old bot, and eventually you're going to find that StreamerBot has full control of everything you used to have other bots for, and maybe multiple bots. And now it's all in one. It's local to your PC, so you're not relying on somebody else's website staying up and active. And you have the control. And then build from there. Go crazy with it. And let me know, how do you like StreamerBot? In the comments below, leave me a little comment. Do you like StreamerBot? Are you even interested in moving over? And if you have any questions, if you're having any issues, troubles, can't get something to work right, leave it in the comments. I will answer. I try to answer every comment on any of my topics, on any of my videos. And if you want to see something else, let me know in the comments what else you want to see. You want to see a tutorial on how to use SpeakerBot? Do you want to see a tutorial on how to create a bot account for Twitch? Whatever it is, leave me a comment below. I will do my best to, I will respond, and I'll do my best to make that video tutorial for you. But know when I post new videos, make sure that you subscribe, click the little button, leave a comment, and click the thumbs up if you like the video. It really helps me out. I appreciate you. And I hope that this video helped you out with a little introduction to StreamerBot. And we will get into more detail later with some of the more advanced things that it can do. But I wanted to get you installed, set up, connected, and learn how to make a basic command with the new version of StreamerBot and the triggers. And I think we did that. So if I failed, go ahead and click the thumbs down. And then please, after you click the thumbs down, leave me a message and let me know where I went wrong. Otherwise, click that thumbs up and then leave a message and tell me one thing that you liked about the video, or a question that you have, or a future video that you want to see. And until next time, thank you guys. Love, peace, and chicken grease.